Hey everybody, John Reagan here with Allshay AI and Board Brains Consortium. Looks like the voice is a little off, but we'll see here. So what I'm bringing you today is the current setup for the Easy Bake AI toolset by Allshay AI. So we have this in a setup where you can use it with both your computer, and we're in the process right now of doing closed testing for releasing our Android app. So you can actually run this on a cell phone. You can run it on a tablet, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Is one, I'm going to show you some stuff I'm running and some considerations of things that you should think about when you use this app to build your own AI models. And then I'm going to show you a demo walkthrough and explain how that stuff works. I'm going to give you the whole rundown. And what I'm going to do is take some of this and I'm going to chop it, at least the part that's the app itself, and then I'm going to put that up on the actual APK listing, the actual app listing. So first thing I want to do is I want to show you some models I've been working on. Right now I have this is a 7 million parameter model. Kind of hard to see with the camera and the blurriness, but it is basically in the reinforcement dojo right now, and you can see that it's not necessarily the AI's response isn't exactly right, but it is learning. So this started just babbling letters. This is a 7 million parameter model, and I ran it through one epoch. Now, with small models, you can get away with doing a lower amount of training and then dumping them into the dojo to refine that training out. If you do more epochs, they're going to learn a little better, but you do too many and they get too um, focused on the things you train them, you might say. So this one's been running for about 2 to 3 days now. As you can see, it is forming words, procession, a posin. So the 7 million parameter model work for general sentences, I would say, usually between 4 and 10 word responses. They're pretty small, but they can be very accurate as well. So this one's training. It'll take it a while. The neat thing is that even when the battery turns this off, if I don't have it plugged in to maintain it staying on, it goes off, and when I start the tablet back up, it starts right back up. So that's not an issue with these. So don't worry if you are training a model and it happens to shut down or power down to save power. It's okay. You just start it back up. As a matter of fact, I want to plug that one in right now. So it just keeps going. Additionally, I wanted to show you this much larger model on the much larger tablet. This is the previous model was a Lenovo Y700, so it's their gaming Lenovo gaming tablet, the Legion. And this is the Tab Extreme. So that one has a Snapdragon Gen 1, 8 Gen 1 Plus, I think, and this one has a MediaTek 9000. Now, the model I made on this one was 100 and about 150 million parameters. But I only gave it one epoch of training, and as you can see, actually, from the lack of response that it has right now, that is a problem, right? So what you need to think about when you're building these models, one is what you have as far as RAM, and I'll explain that. I have a document for that as well. But you also need to think about how much you're training them for the size of the model, right? So I could let this run for probably a week before it'll even start responding. So if you build a bigger model with these architectures that are provided, you do need to train them more. One epoch will not be enough. It doesn't settle their system into the right way. I'm trying to think of how to say this stuff without getting tech gradients and measurements, metric, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But it's actually relatively simple to make an AI, especially with this system. And even once we launch the app and it's paid or subscription through the Google Play Store, your PITH files, your actual AI files, will still be available to you. So you just won't have access to the app, the interface, but all your PITH files will still work. So I'm looking at that stuff right now and how we're setting that up. But the next thing I wanted to show you, oh, before I get onto that, so those are tablets, right? Those are pretty good tablets. This right here, oh shoot, it shut off. Oh no, the charge wasn't working right. So I have a Razer phone here. Technical difficulty of it shutting itself off. It's Lineage OS though. Yeah. Anyway, so I had that one building. That sucks. That was a 169 million parameter model, building on 25 epochs each, and it did produce some files. So I will be able to start probably about, I think it was close to the end, so probably the 8th phase, and redo that. So it's not a big loss. But that has an 845 chip, and it's building an AI. These ones have newer chips. They're building AIs. This is my LG V60. Let it get darker. You can actually kind of see it. It has 105 today. And if I just go in here and I just tap and open the app, I can have this build and train AIs as well. So it's not about the processor, is just about how long it's going to take you to build that AI. So now that we've kind of looked at different setups, we talked about a couple things, let's go over the app itself. And then at the end, after we go over the app, I will explain about RAM usage and parameters and things of that nature. So here we go. So once you go in and you download it, you find it obviously in your apps, you open the app. In here, you'll see that we have the configuration. The help file does give you some help. It explains some things. You're able to select or the default or current. You're able to go to standard or Pascal architectures. There are 8 phases, and you can set up your own curriculum in those phases. Here you can set your build name, and I would just change it to something you can remember. So I usually will use test. And to test, I will turn it down usually to 1 epoch. Make a small model here. In this case, I'll turn the batch size down to 1 as well, because that saves memory. It helps it go quicker. It really seem like it is. And to start, I usually turn the model dim down to 128, right? This is the dimensions of the model, and this really dictates a lot of the size. So for most systems, I do that. And then here you have your number of attention heads, your number of encoder layers, and your number of decoder layers. So also the feed forward dim. The attention heads, you can increase this, but the attention heads the model size has to be divisible by the number of attention heads evenly. So something to think about when you set those things up. Here we see it building, running the forge. We're just running the standard numbers. You can increase those as well, the encoder layers, the decoder layers, and the forward dim. It does increase the size, so keep that in mind. Here we're building a 7 million parameter model, right, with 29.51 megabytes estimated on disk. So what we're seeing here, what I'm showing you is that it's running. And this is stable enough, at least, that you can go in while it's running, if you have models already, and you can select to test those models or run them through the dojo further. Okay, so here I've already made some models, a bunch of different ones I've already done during testing. I'm going to select one, and then I'm going to go ahead. See, it's still training. There we go. And so then I'll go ahead and select the JSON. And in this case, just these data sets are good enough. So I'll select the P8 dataset, and then we'll begin the automated mastery. Now, since I'm building a model, this is going to take probably a minute or two to start, because it really is interacting with the same setup and processing and everything that the build is going through right now. So this takes a minute. We'll just chill out here. Maybe I'll fast forward through this. It does start. Trust me, I've already watched this. It just takes a minute 'cause it's running and it's really flooded. This video I made on the LG V60 that runs a Snapdragon 865 with 8 gigs of memory. So 8 gigs of memory is probably going to be about, I think the biggest model I made was just over 200 uh, million parameters, if I remember correctly. So so it is possible to build a pretty good size one. If you have more RAM, like my tablets have 12, those ones I've pushed closer to 500 million. If you have one with 16 or even one of the newer ones coming out, or a cell phone, right, with 24 gigs of RAM, not virtual RAM, real RAM, you could make a billion parameter model. Depending on the size of your curriculum, it could take anywhere from a couple days, maybe, up to 2 or 3 months. So, but when you think about it, right, the size of the model you're building, the things that it can eventually do, right, as you train it, build it up, and the time frame with the device, I mean, companies spend billions of dollars to not. Oh, it's turning off the Wi-Fi. You can turn off Wi-Fi on this. It doesn't use internet at all. I'm not collecting your information. Oh, there we go. See, so we finally got the answer out. That took a minute or two. But the reason for that isn't because the models are slow to respond. It's because we're building a model at the same time we're asking the model to interact, right? And this reinforcement dojo is giving a 10 training jolt to the model we selected, to that specific file. So that's going to get saved here in a minute. You're going to see that listed. I'm showing you right now here. You can see it's still building right along. We have uh, the reinforcement dojo is still running. You can see you have the stop dojo button. When you click that stop dojo button, it does take a minute because the system's is collecting everything and shutting everything down appropriately, but I'll show you that here in a sec. There we go. So you can see that pushing the stop dojo button does stop it. It does save the weights and the memory and everything to the model. And so here I'm going to show you what a manual jolt looks like. So you can put in the training is what question or whatever you want it to train on. And this one is what is your name? And these models I haven't specifically trained their names on yet, but they're Alshay AI. And so this training will just get essentially, it's not Q&A, it's just essentially trained directly to the model. So we can see the jolts, we can see them go through, and you're going to see an error listed here. It's not an actual error, it's a reporting error, but it's fine. It's not an error, don't worry about it. It is still training, and I'm going to get that corrected. So there are some UI issues I've noticed where if you're building a model and then you go in to do the reinforcement dojo or question a model and load it up, that the training model, the section for training will allow you to start trying to build another model, even though it's in the process of building a model. I would not recommend trying to build a second model once you have one running. So if you see the Forge AI button pop up, just let it go, let it be. It's fine. And so we're almost at the end of this, and you can see the jolts, and you can see this right here is the reduction of loss based on the training. In 10, it's not going to get down all the way, right? It might give you enough to get a good lock on something and basically root it in. So see, the final state is still pretty high energy, and our logic shift delta was pretty high. So, but you can see the changes were committed to memory, and that's all good. So one of the things you should really consider is how much memory you have, right? And it's going to take time depending on the processor, the size of the model, and the size of your curriculum that you're training the model on. So keep all those things in mind when you're building your models. It is going to take some time even after you're done training them to run them through the dojo to kind of fine tune them, right? To get those weights and everything really ground in there where they should be. And yeah, happy building.